Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about blockchain cryptocurrencies, how they fit into the metaverse, how the IRS is coming for a piece of the action, based on some interesting news that they just released. And I want to talk a little bit about crypto partisanship, politics, and people's general feelings and the general zeitgeist surrounding blockchain, the metaverse's emergence, and how those two will tie together. So blockchain and the metaverse are kind of a match made in heaven. We see now with the popular buzz surrounding NFTs, tokens aplenty, cryptocurrencies, that people are very comfortable now with digitally represented assets and mechanisms of exchange, utilizing cryptographic provability and some of which emphasize transparency of transactions. Not all do, but some do. The metaverse is going to be a digitally represented sense of space, and within that sense of space, there's going to be assets and ownership, most likely, because you have to think that space within the metaverse is not technically free. It's not nothing. What corresponds to it is power utilized, bandwidth on the internet utilized, and bandwidth on servers utilized as a given person is interacting. It's a little different than playing a local game or being in a local experience that may not be attached to the internet, because then that sort of just lives on your headset. But when you're part of what's really going to be the largest massive multiplayer online experience ever created, which the internet already is, and this will be an embodied version of that. This is not negligible financially, and whether intentional or not, my guess is not. We've seen that people are very comfortable now in spending money, fiat currency, really spending their time to gain assets, trade those assets in, such as fiat currency, for cryptocurrency, digital assets on video games. You see this in Fortnite, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft. We've seen really prior to Bitcoin's launch, there was fiat being traded for in-game tokens for a very long time on massive multiplayer online games. That happened in Phantasy Star Online, World of Warcraft. There was a whole economy surrounding that. And because people are okay with that, I really think that the market opportunity has presented itself for crypto entrepreneurs, blockchain companies, and metaverse companies to emerge to fulfill that need and to grow and gain from that consumer market. We also see that trust in corporations, trust in the government, that's kind of at a lower than it's been in quite a while, decades probably, and that lack of trust really makes blockchain technologies and decentralized verification attractive. People are more willing to trust a decentralized democratic group of peers than they are to trust the government and banks and corporations in policing and verifying the legal system. There's a lot of distrust in that. I think rightfully so in a lot of ways. So the people are there. The people are there with blockchain technologies. They want it to be a mechanism of transfer. And I read an article, I'll link it in the description below, that points out that the IRS is hiring 80,000 employees. This additional IRS workforce is coming after taxation on cryptocurrencies. Regulation and bureaucracy, slow as molasses. They haven't been able to keep up with the emergence of cryptocurrencies and the hundreds of thousands, millions of tokens and digital assets that have emerged utilizing blockchain technologies. They haven't been able to keep up with that. The internet as a decentralized mechanism has played with it, year after year. It's grown and now it's humongous. And, Facebook is rebranded as Meta now. the IRS has likely been planning on this for a while, but it's no secret that tax dodging, and I put that in quotations because it's quite questionable as it is, whether or not cryptocurrencies can legally be taxed at this point. They have tried to pass legislation. Some legislation has already been passed, but I believe that there's contradictions in the law right now. And, with new types of digital assets constantly emerging, and those definitions constantly evolving, taxation can be quite difficult. And a workforce of 80,000 additional people for the IRS is something that could help to start to tackle taxation on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Whatever your political persuasion is, whatever your thoughts are on that, it does seem likely that there's going to be a big move to do that. With this emerging addition to the workforce, they have the hands on deck that they would need to try to monitor and tax that. It will still be quite difficult. I think that NFTs and the sheer number and volume of transactions make it a tall order, to say the least, to tax that. And in some cases of cryptocurrency like Monero, it might be impossible. Or even through use of Monero, it might be impossible. The question will be, what access will banks give to the IRS in this regard? What access will Coinbase give to the IRS in this regard? They already have a threshold. I think it's 8,000, something along those lines. I'll include a link to their FAQ. But Coinbase isn't the only mechanism of getting cryptocurrency. There's a bunch of exchanges and foreign exchanges specifically that may not play ball with the IRS in this regard. They may not play ball with them, and due to that, it will come down to the banks. If you're buying via banks, whether or not the IRS is going to be able to readily and easily tax you. But it seems like they're coming for it. And, though they're slow, though bureaucracy and regulatory measures are slow, they seem to have gotten here just in time. As the metaverse emerges and the digital asset economy, I imagine, explodes to high heaven, that will be a huge new revenue stream for the U.S. government and their taxation. It will be an entire emerging economy that they'll want to get their hands into. And on the note of bureaucracy, crypto partisanship, a term I use to refer to, political persuasion in regards to cryptocurrency, which also includes stances on taxation, stances on democracy, fairness in regards to the blockchain. For example, it's always been a question of mine, at least. If you really think about fiat currency, the dollar, it really is a mechanism of transfer because of people's willingness and trust in it, and the sort of mutual agreement between people to exchange it for goods and services, of course. The US dollar is what we use in America, and in fact across the world, due to popularity, due to demand, due to America's hand in all, government economies. And that's how it is with Bitcoin as well, and other cryptocurrencies and tokens. It's going to be people's willingness to use it, people's trust in it, that's going to dictate value. In a way, it's the new collectible market, but additionally, in a way, fiat currency is also a collectible market. We collect these paper pieces because they're valued at a certain amount. They tend to fluctuate a lot less than cryptocurrencies, of course, but NFTs and other digital assets are going to be collectibles and, goods and services that will have value dictated by their supply and demand. Which is where it gets interesting in regards to value and whether or not value will be able to be held in the metaverse over time. Or the implication, rather, of value being held over time would assuming that the market reacts, I suppose, rationally to the concept of supply and demand, will be that supply is either limited or the demand grows so fast that it can keep up with what I imagine will be exponential growth of the metaverse. A blue shirt, for example, in the metaverse is just a stored value in some data store somewhere. Whether that be a database or something else. Noting that a blue shirt and its supply could potentially be infinite. This is already a conceptual issue with supply and demand for NFTs and cryptocurrencies in general. When everyone's the money printer, when everyone's the collectible printer, there's a danger of saturation. And when you have a saturation of supply, value plummets. And we could see a crash in value. So a blue shirt could be worth nothing. Or next to nothing. Maybe just the space it takes to store. A blue shirt you can buy at cost in the metaverse, most likely. Where things get interesting and where a greater percentage of value can remain might be services. Services is something where supply is much more limited if the service requires human intervention, because then you're limited by human supply. Whereas a person could, write trivial code to generate, for all intents and purposes, infinite blue shirts in about a minute or less, maybe 10 seconds. And I talked about this in another video. I'll include a link if you want to watch that video. It's a bit old. The video where I talk a bit about metaversal commerce and what I think that is, what it means. Where that leaves us is that people will need to create political bodies of law in a general sense that dictate law or convention that dictate people's ability to bring digital assets across experiences in virtual reality and in the metaverse. If Meta, for example, formerly Facebook, never forget, Meta was Facebook. If Meta, for example, takes the stance that you can only utilize digital assets in their experiences that are verified, utilizing, maybe they create a proprietary blockchain mechanism for handling copyright, and they take the stance that you have to utilize digital assets that are verified from a copyright standpoint utilizing this blockchain technology or some other approved blockchain technology. And if, as a decentralized sort of machine and democratically ruled space, the metaverse also takes that stance, or the majority of it takes that stance, then that might allow for supply to be more easily managed in regards to novel inventions. So a blue shirt, trivial, might be worth next to nothing. Just the space it takes to store. But a beautifully created piece of art or something, or a beautifully created digital shirt, pants, whatever it might be, digital asset, by a great artist, the supply can be very low, assuming that there's a reasonable ability to police ownership through copyright mechanisms or other mechanisms of verifying ownership. Otherwise, you can just copy. And that's why the blockchain is necessary. The blockchain is going to be necessary for ownership in the metaverse. or else everything's going to be valueless. And if everything's valueless digitally, what's going to happen is that the service economy is going to be all there is. And this would be I have no opinion on whether this outcome would be good or bad, but this could be an outcome. It's that the service industry would be all that is valuable, which might include the hosting of metaverse experiences. It might include performances, whatever it might be, creation of content for a given person, expansion of the metaverse, building, for example, software as a service rather than buyable software, ownable software. But yeah, I really want people to get involved with this discussion. Please comment down below if you have any thoughts on the matter. If you think for some reason blockchain won't be a main mechanism of ownership verification in the metaverse, let me know your thoughts in general about the whole IRS thing. If you think that their growing workforce and the huge amount of hiring that they're doing, if you think it's related to blockchain taxation, I'd really love to know if I'm the only one or if other people also think that. What are your thoughts in general about the metaverse? Another thing I'd like to know is how long people like to spend in VR right now as it stands. I know that headsets are still growing. They're getting lighter weight. Oculus Quest 2 is close to as good as you can get for a very reasonable price range for comfort and power. In my humble opinion, I think that that's the most obvious choice for a general metaverse participant at this point. But I personally, if I really love an experience, I could be in it for maybe 4 to 6 hours. I've been in experiences for like 10 hours straight before for work. 10 hours with like small 5-minute breaks or whatever. But that's going to be a big thing for the growth of the metaverse, is people's comfort in hanging out in the metaverse and going there on a regular basis. So yeah, let me know down below what you like to do, if you really like social experiences at this point. I'll be back next week with the Metaverse update number 16. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. Give me a like if it's no trouble for you. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.